Welcome to the program. I am Amarachi Ubani. Multiple attacks have been going on at several army barracks in Burundi, including the capital. Witnesses say they can hear continuous gunfire and explosions coming from two major towns, Musaga in the south and Ngagara in the north. At least 12 insurgents have been killed and 20 more arrested. According to reports earlier today, 5 soldiers have been killed, though there's word that now that they were wounded instead of being killed. Attacks the first on the military since the coup attempt before the elections, when President Pierre Nkurunziza announced that he would be running a third term in office. A situation is equally bad in the capital, Bujumbura, where residents have taken cover. Most of them are locked inside, locked indoors for safety. Well, Burundi's neighbors have been reacting to the recent attacks, cancelling flights to the country for security reasons. Kenya Airways and Rwandair cancelled their flights to the capital, Bujumbura. Ethiopia Airlines also cancelled flights. Officials said there have been no personnel to direct on landing. What we're not sure of is if the airport is still functional. The Director General of Burundi's Civil Aviation Authority, Emmanuel Habimana, says several flights into and out of the city's main airport have been cancelled. Habimana said airlines are concerned over the state of the airport, but has denied claims the airport had been shut. As violence in northern Nigeria nearing Cameroon, Boko Haram is said to have killed at least 8 people in nearby Cameroon, northeast of Nigeria. Local officials said the attackers were 2 suicide bombers. The attack happened early this morning. Nigeria and Cameroon share a common border, so most of the smaller towns on the borders are being attacked by Boko Haram and have been victims of Boko Haram's activities. Cameroon has been part of a multinational task force aimed at quashing the terrorist group. Boko Haram has been attacking towns and villages in northeastern Nigeria and has extended its operations to Cameroon, Chad and Niger. The armies of these countries have, however, been instrumental in recovering most of the towns and villages and quashing the group's activities. Well, thousands of people have been displaced by Boko Haram's activities, causing them to flee their homes. A government also affected by the violence has been accommodating them in camps. Well, the UN has revealed plans to begin a capacity training program for the women in these camps. The country representative of the United Nations Agency, Angel Antaga, said the training would help restore the women's economic independence. The program, which will run in partnership with the Ministry of Women Development, is expected to train the women on new methods of farming, crafts and other technical skills. Welcome back to Network Africa. Thousands of people have been displaced by Boko Haram's activities, causing them to flee. But South African President Jacob Zuma has his sacking of his respected finance minister in favor of a relatively unknown minister has shocked investors and emboldened critics who say that 73-year-old is driving the economy to ruins. Now, even some supporters of the African National Congress, Nelson Mandela's erstwhile liberation movement, that has ruled since the end of apartheid in 1994, said they're in dismay about Wednesday's appointment of a Zuma loyalist to the crucial post. Mr. Zuma gave no details as to why he had dismissed Nhlanhla Nene, who has overseen the Treasury for just under 2 years, other than to say that he'd done well during a difficult economic climate. Markets reacted unambiguously, with the rand plunging 5% against the dollar to record lows late on Wednesday. After a modest recovery, the currency slipped about 1% on Thursday. Local media speculated this week that Nene might be on the chopping block after he rebuked Dudu Myeni, the chairwoman of state-owned South African Airways and a close ally of President Zuma, for mismanaging a 1 billion rand deal with Airbus. Van Rooyen was sworn in on Thursday. He promised to create favorable conditions for economic growth. Climate negotiators in Paris have turned to a traditional South African consultation process in the quest for common ground among the nearly 200 nations seeking a global deal to curb rising temperatures. Countries Zulu and Xhosa communities have long used the Indaba, a gathering of community leaders summoned by the chief to resolve important issues. Although only principal elders and herdsmen are at the table in an Ndaba meeting. It's open to all. That provides a forum to hear all views while vesting decision-making power in a limited group of leaders. French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius, who is chairing the UN negotiations, first opted for the South African model last weekend as a way to streamline discussions on the most contentious issues. Now, as with an Ndaba, only ministers with decision-making clout and single aid were at the table. Fabius added more groups as the week went on, each led by ministers from countries in both northern and southern hemispheres. Well, the UN is hoping to reach a deal on climate by tomorrow. Moroccan authorities have issued an arrest warrant for Saleh Abdeslam, a Paris attack suspect who is at the center of an international manhunt, according to the police. The warrant was issued at the end of last month, but a Moroccan security source said it was not clear whether Abdeslam had fled to Morocco or North Africa. Last month, German police launched a search after a tip-off that he was there. Abdel Salam, whose brother blew himself up in the Paris attacks, which killed at least 130 people, has been on the run since November 13. As a French citizen, he can travel freely in the European countries' Schengen area where there are no border controls. A former British Prime Minister Tony Blair says the regime of Libya's former dictator Muammar Gaddafi was not sustainable and that he had not been trying to save the former leader when he had conversations with him before the conflict that eventually killed him. He said decisions to intervene in Libya in 2011 was well-intentioned and done in good faith. While in office, the ex-Prime Minister supported the West's rapprochement with the regime of Colonel Gaddafi and even visited him in Libya in 2004. Libya renounced its nuclear weapons program as part of an international agreement, but the West's more accommodating relationship with the regime led to a number of commercial deals. It came in for criticism after Gaddafi violently repressed an uprising during the so-called Arab Spring. Well, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry will be traveling to Rome on Sunday to co-chair a meeting with his Italian counterpart, Paolo Gentiloni, on forming a unity government in Libya. 4 years after the fall of Muammar Gaddafi, Western powers are pushing Libya's warring sides to accept a UN accord and form a unity government to end the conflict, which has allowed Islamist militants to gain ground and illegal migrant smugglers to take advantage of the chaos. There's more ahead on Network Africa. When we come back, the anti-social media bill, which may be killing freedom of speech in Nigeria if passed. We speak to an analyst. Please stay with us.